Mike, I think they're just being a teenager. This is normal. They're probably going to grow out of it. Look, maybe you or your spouse has said this. Maybe your parents have said it to you. Maybe you're telling yourself this because, well, the alternative that something needs to change now feels really overwhelming. And yeah, some things are phases, but some things aren't. Look, here's how to know the difference. Adolescence is absolutely a developmental phase. Your teen's brain is rewiring, mood swings, boundary testing, identity exploration. That's all normal. But here's what developmental psychology actually tells us. Patterns that persist without intervention become personality. Between the ages of 12 and 25, your teen's brain is building the neural pathways that will define how they handle conflict, regulate emotion, and relate to authority for the rest of their life. If they're learning that disrespect gets them what they want, that's not a phase, that's training. If they're learning that your boundaries disappear when they push hard enough, that's not a phase, that's a lesson in manipulation. If they're learning that emotional outbursts control the household, that's not a phase, that's a strategy that they're going to take into every relationship they have. The brain doesn't distinguish between this is just teenage rebellion and this is how the world works. It just wires for what's being reinforced. Phases end, patterns compound. Now, I worked with a mom who waited 3 years for her daughter's attitude to pass. Everyone told her it was normal teenage stuff, and she believed them. But by 17, her teenage wasn't just sarcastic, she was cruel, mocking her mom in front of friends, ignoring curfew, lying without hesitation. When this mom finally came to coaching, she said, I thought if I just gave her space, she'd come back to me. Here's what she didn't realize. Her daughter was coming back. She was coming back as the person her mom allowed her to become. We didn't wait for the phase to end. We changed the pattern immediately. New boundaries, disrespectful language ends the conversation every time. Her daughter tested it. She said something cutting. Mom stood up. She held up the boundary with her power script and confidently closed that conversation down. The daughter followed, yelling. Mom expressed that they will continue this conversation when she's calmed down to a mature level. Mom went to her room, closed the door, took her own break. 20 minutes later, daughter knocked and apologized. But not because she had a developmental breakthrough, because the environment changed and disrespect stopped working. That was 8 months ago. The phase ended in 2 weeks once the pattern was interrupted. Now, here's the truth. Your teen will grow out of adolescence. The question is, what habits will they carry into adulthood? Now, let me tell you what happens when parents wait. I've worked with parents of 22 and 23-year-olds who are still waiting for the phase to end. Their adult child speaks to them with contempt. They can't hold down a job. They blame everyone else for their problems. And the parent says, I don't know what happened. They used to be such a sweet kid. Well, here's what happened. The disrespect that started at 13 became the default at 16. The entitlement that seemed like typical teenage behavior at 15 became a worldview at 20. You didn't cause it by being a bad parent, but you allowed it by waiting for time to fix what required intervention. Look, time doesn't heal patterns. Time reinforces them. And here's the part nobody wants to hear. The older your teen gets, the harder the pattern is to change. It's not impossible, it's just harder. Because at 13, a teenager's brain is more plastic than a 17-year-old. And a 17-year-old is more open to correction than a 21-year-old. The window doesn't close, but it narrows. So every month you wait, hoping that things improve on their own, is a month you're choosing the harder path later. So the question isn't, is this just a phase? The question is, can I afford to wait and find out? Because if you're right, it's just a phase, then intervening now costs you nothing. You'll have a better relationship sooner than you thought. But if you're wrong and it's a pattern, waiting costs you years, maybe even the relationship itself. The parents who regret working with me, I've never met one. But the parents who regret waiting, I meet them every week. If you're ready to stop hoping that things get better and start making them better, then let's talk. Book a free family strategy call. We'll assess whether what you're seeing is developmental or if it's destructive, and I'll give you a clear path either way. The link's in the description. Look, friends, phases end on their own. Patterns end when you intervene. So don't wait to find out which one you're dealing with. Let's book a call and talk now.